and good evening. I'm Melisa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. My guest today in the studio is Tengku Seri Zafrul, Tengku Abdul Aziz. He's the caretaker finance minister. He's also the Barisan Nasional candidate for Kuala Selangor. He's making his political and electoral debut by taking on the incumbent MP of Kuala Selangor, former Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Dzulkefly Ahmad, in a four-corner fight. So in that match, we have Perikatan National's Noor, Sahar, as well as Pejuang candidate Shaid Rosli representing GTA. Zafrul, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. It's a pleasure to have you here. I know you're taking a break from the busy campaigning week, but we appreciate your time. I do want to say, while I have you here, the most pressing news has been about the LRT disruption, and we see the service has been disrupted in 16 stations across that LRT line. It is the most densely populated areas of the Klang Valley. Hundreds of thousands of people will be impacted and their lives disrupted. Prasarana, as the asset owner of the LRT, comes under the Ministry of Finance. So I do want to begin there as caretaker finance minister. A lot of anger has been directed towards you, not to mention the CEO of Prasarana as well as the transport minister. How are you planning to address this, and how does it impact your campaign, because it comes at a very crucial juncture heading into GE15? Yep.
Well, first of all, I mean, it's about accountability, right? Technically, I'm no longer the caretaker finance minister, because as a senator, when you resign as a senator to contest, there is no provision for a senator to be a caretaker minister. But however, I will still, then I do not have a power of a caretaker minister. I'm completely.
So the finance minister role is vacant?
Not vacant, but it's always with the prime minister.
It resides in the finance minister. Okay.
So, but doesn't matter. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to explain the background of being a caretaker minister. But to me, regardless, right, as Malaysian, I'm also concerned what's happening. I've asked the CEO, Sahar Prasarana. He said he's very much looking into this, but he's worried about safety, and he's also spoken to the caretaker transport minister. I mean, everything falls under the Ministry of Finance, right? And we are shareholder of everything under the law, right? So, but the day-to-day has to be looked at by the company. They have to be accountable. And of course, the ministry in charge is the Ministry of Transport. Right. So I look forward to hearing from them the latest.
Do you think that the anger is misplaced, misdirected towards the finance ministry? Because what I'm hearing, particularly online chatter and the feedback from some of people who depend on the LRT service, is that they feel perhaps this was an oversight from the Ministry of Finance, not providing funds, not allowing for maintenance to be to properly happen. Do you think that anger or dissatisfaction is misdirected, particularly in this hot election season? Everything is amplified.
I think anger and frustration is expected in any cases similar to this, right? And I am also angry as a shareholder. I mean, we are shareholder, right? I mean, if you are a shareholder of a company, you'll be angry at the management for not performing, right? So similarly for us, I mean, if I'm the shareholder of company A failed to deliver the mandate, right? Like when I was the CEO of CIMB, if I fail to deliver the mandate, the shareholder will go after me, right? Similarly, in this case, MOF being a shareholder of hundreds and thousands of companies, in fact, right, will then ask the questions like you are asking. So we are doing the same thing. Okay. If they were saying there's not enough fund, did you ask for the funds, right? We've given 60 billion, right? It's not small money, right, to Prasarana. So I don't think it's the issue of funding people. It's the season. People ask, people will spin whatever they want to spin. Right. But to me, you or people, Melisa, will know the governance or the relationship between shareholder, management, regulator. A shareholder will ask the management why this happened. The regulator will then also ask the management why this happened. So as a shareholder, I also ask regulator, did you check whether the maintenance is done properly? Okay. So frustration, of a shareholder is the same as the user.
Multiple stakeholders involved in this.
So
okay, all right.
If shareholder gets involved in management, then there's no longer need to have the management. So there is a separation of powers. I think, Melisa, you should understand
Well,
that.
will you be able to address this in your campaign? Will you be able to provide this narrative of accountability and also, your sense of outrage at the disruption that's happened?
Yes,
Are you going to communicate this to your
Well, if asked,
public?
LRT, but of course, as you know, Kuala Selangor, there's no LRT. Yeah? Again, this is an urban issue.
True,
right?
many people work in KL
yeah.
and vote in Kuala Selangor.
Yes, but they drive to KL because there's no, to go to work, you need the LRT all the way from Kuala Selangor.
Understood.
But never mind, doesn't matter. So if the urban people that uses LRT, the urban group, the urban crowd, the urban workers, the people who need to try LRT, of course they're frustrated. And I completely understand their frustration.
Right, okay, all right, let's come to the issue of Kuala Selangor. I do want to understand this constituency a little bit better. I want to take a closer look at the seat that you're contesting in. Kuala Selangor has changed hands in each of the past 3 general elections. So PAS won it from Barisan in 2008, back to Barisan Nasional in 2013, and then Perikatan took it with a comfortable margin in 2018. So let's talk a little bit about how you are approaching this constituency. How do you understand the Kuala Selangor constituency, Zafrul?
Well, if you've been to Kuala Selangor, you will see that Kuala Selangor is a very diversified parliamentary constituency. We have professionals, all the way to fishermen, estate workers. There's big estate there as well. So there are different needs when you meet the different groups of people. But what I think what is important is for us, for the government, for the state government, in fact, as well, for everyone who can help to give the right assistance to the right group.
What have you identified as the areas that they need assistance in?
Okay. Well, let me give you a bit of background. I had the opportunity to be going down to Kuala Selangor now more than 200 times, right, in the last 6 months. When it comes to the election, as a corporate guy with a corporate background, I wanted to have a manifesto, right? A manifesto with a long-term view.
Your own kind of personal manifesto?
No, manifesto for Kuala Selangor.
For Kuala Selangor, okay.
Kuala Selangor, right? But then when I went down to the ground, like I said, more than 200 times, I met a lot of voters down there, the business people, students, professionals. They are saying that please resolve the daily issues first. Don't come with a manifesto that talks about 5-year plan, 3-year plan. Can you solve the roads? Got potholes, traffic lights were not working.
Longkang,
Longkang,
drainage
mosque,
issues, okay.
Surau, and then public amenities, the football field, the parks not taken care of. So these are more the issues. And then for the young, they're saying that, oh, we want jobs. There are no jobs in this area. And then for the young, for the business, the entrepreneurs, the small entrepreneurs, they're saying that, for the penjaja, they all want to have more spaces to do business. So these are more local issues. And I think they say, please address that first. Don't say that I want to bring the GDP of Kuala Selangor up by how many percent?
That must be a big difference coming from looking at fiscal policy at a federal level, and now as an what the expectations of voters are towards members of parliament is very different than, say, a finance minister.
Yeah, it is a bit different. The only similarity is that the issues we have heard as before, right? Because during the preparation of the budget, I think 6 months to prepare a budget, so there is a session where we call it a sesi libat urus, where we have a dialogue with the different
it's
groups.
Like
feedback. So, but through associations. And sometimes when we go down, then we have an opportunity to meet some of the players themselves, and they air out some of these issues, right? But perhaps not as magnified as an MP, right? So they will say the key issues facing their constituents in respective fields.
You mentioned that you met young people. They brought up the issue of jobs in Kuala Selangor. I do see that Kuala Selangor will see a substantial increase for voters eligible to vote in GE15. I think 46% more compared to GE14. That's a big bump.
That's a big bump, yeah.
And 31% of this 71,000 voters in Kuala Selangor will be first-time voters.
Yes,
so we're talking young people here. What is the strategy to woo them, particularly if they haven't been as engaged in the national discourse in
Yeah.
seeing you as finance minister?
Well, if you look under 40 in Kuala Selangor, it's 53%.
Under 40s?
Under 40. So that's considered the youth, right? And again, because there's new voters and also the Undi 18, there are different levels, right? The 18 and 19, because I try and meet as many young groups below 40. So 18 and 19, they have a different view about the election, and then the 21 to 20, 18 and 19 is still schooling. I mean,
what is their view that they've
So their
told
view,
you?
I mean, there are three things when I speak to them, if I can summarize. One is there is an attitude where does it make a difference, right? Do I need to go out and vote? Because to them it's, will it make a difference to their life? Second one is, I think they are more, they're looking at candidates rather than loyalty to parties, and the parties' views, right? What does the party stand for example? I think they don't think too much about that. They will say, hey, can this candidate actually do work, right? I think they're thinking that's the younger group from it. And the third one is really what can the candidate do for them as well, right? Because there is this view that the youth always get less attention, right, from governments and leaders, right? So they want those are the three things when I talk to them, because we've seen voter turnout, right? I mean, the last two state elections for the youth, the young has been quite low. But this is national, so they are aware of the general election.
How do you respond to that when they say, well, does it make a difference to my life? Why should I participate? What do you say to them?
Well, of course, I say that this is your right. That we are in a democracy. Please practice your right, because every vote counts, right? Because you want to be sure that whoever you choose, right, it doesn't have to be Barisan or Perikatan, it can be anyone, right? Must be someone that you feel and believe that can deliver. And you must also think of the long term of the country, right? Because you are part of this country. Please exercise your right, and it's important that you play a role in the development of this country.
And when they say whether this, because you said it's always about the candidate, right? The personality. Can this candidate deliver? Can he or she perform? What do you say to that? I think because many of us are learning about Tengku Zafrul, the politician, the first-time candidate in GE15. What kind of politician are you? How would you describe yourself, given that we are now only discovering Tengku Zafrul, the politician?
Yeah. Well, to me, what's important is the intent, right? If the intent or the intention, the niyat in this case, if to help people, it must be, you must tell them that, look at what we've done as a government, but if you're asking about Tengku Zafrul, so let's look at what I've done in my career, right? As you correctly stated, I'm a first-time politician, but let's see what I've done in that short 2.5 years as the Minister of Finance, the track record of helping the people. If you look at the initiatives in various packages during the pandemic, we do focus on the youth, and we do give a lot of assistance to the vulnerable groups. But at the same time, with the track record as a technocrat, I think I can also look at both worlds, right? I can understand and the need to balance the needs of our fiscal, at the same time making sure that the money is channeled through correctly, without wastage, and making sure that the governance is also in place to do so.
Why UMNO? What was it about the party's political ethos that resonated with you? Why did you choose UMNO?
Yeah, well, I've been an UMNO member since 1997, and I've never stopped of being a member. So it's been a long time, I think 24 years as a member, and it's only that I'm not been active. I was initially active when I was younger. At the time I just started work. I was quite active in the Cawangan, and after that, as I started my career, I didn't have time. I'm focusing on career, and of course, once you are CEO of a bank, CEO of an investment bank, you're not allowed to be active anyway. So, and why UMNO? Well, my family's been always UMNO. I guess there's some biasness towards UMNO there. But again, I look at the track record of UMNO, and I've seen that they can deliver. But to me, from my background, so I believe in multiracial, right? Country, we are a multiracial country. We need a party that represents all. So Barisan Nasional is that platform. because Barisan Nasional has MCMIC, and if you look at the focus of Barisan Nasional is to help all, not just one, representing just one particular group. Right?
So does it still resonate with you? I mean, yes, 24 years is a long time to be an UMNO member or member of any party, but was the UMNO that you joined in 1997 the UMNO that you recognize today, the party that you are contesting under?
Yep. Well, the beliefs is still the same, right? Of course, there are different views of how to move the next step. Those are more views, but as the spirit is still there. I think the spirit is to assist the people. I think it's still there. To develop the country is still there. Perhaps always, in any companies or parties, there's always different views on how to achieve that, right? So to me, my role, if I can play a role, is to ensure that my view is also taken into account, right? That that I think, of course, I have a set of beliefs or how to get there, and I feel that, with my background and what I've done before, I can contribute through the party to help the country.
Well, I'm sure you've come to the realization that it's a whole different ball game when you're, in active politics, campaigning for for the votes in the next general elections, and then you have to deal with a lot of brickbats from a lot of people, detractors, vocal detractors in a campaign season. I'd like you to address some of that because I think that's important in terms of people's perception and the optics of voters. How would you address the perception that you are seen to be part of the T20, T10, you have been dubbed the Calon Kayangan, that you're out of touch with the common folk? All those labels that your detractors throw your way, how do you address it, and do you incorporate those counter narratives into your campaigning?
Yeah, well, our campaign slogan, my campaign slogan is Dengar, Hayati, Selesaikan, which is listen and empathize and resolve, right? So again, like I said, the important is not your background, but your intention, right? Our first Prime Minister, Tengku Abdul Rahman, is also from a T1, I think, right? But still, he delivered the independence of the country, etc., etc. But what is important to me is if the intention is clear, is to assist the people, and for me, not just the people, and I still want to play a role in government if given a chance. This is one way to do it, right? I could easily go back to my world, right? Corporate world, or But to me, I feel that the last 2.5 years has been a fulfilling one, and I think I will not forgive myself if I didn't put my hat in the ring and give it a try to contribute to the nation, and that's my thinking. And there's really no downside for me. If I not elected, I can always help still. I can go back to the corporate sector, but I will have a different view because I must admit, before this, and I've told my friends as well, in the corporate sector, sometimes we are in our own bubble, right? When you go out there, you see it for yourself. You all can play a role. Everyone can play a role, and I want to be able to do that. And if I can do it, I'm sure many other Malaysians can also do it, to play a role in nation building.
How would you play a role in changing this very toxic political culture? I think a lot of voters are disaffected voters because of what they consider a very toxic political culture. What would you change about the political culture now that you are an active participant?
Yeah, well, I kind of agree, because that's why in the interviews that I've done on ground, they always ask me, your opponents are saying X, Y, Z.
There's a lot of negative campaigning.
Yeah, about negative. So if you look at my campaigning, it's clean and positive. I never said anything bad or negative about someone else, because to me, this election is about helping people, not attacking your fellow opponents, right? So I'm refraining from that. Everyone has his weaknesses, and I also have my weaknesses. No one's perfect. But what's important is you do your best to help your constituency.
And with the Barisan Nasional manifesto that was recently launched, how much were you involved in the drawing up that document?
Yeah. If you look at the 99 initiative, there are quite a number of initiatives that also is in the budget, right? And they also asked for our view, my view, personally as well, because at the time, being a former finance minister, and now former finance at the time, still finance minister, it's important that they get a view. I think they got many people's view, but my view is simple. They want to, they ask for one of of the key ones, right, saying that is this fiscally possible?
Responsible, fiscally responsible, yes.
So we had debates on a few. Some are not there anymore. Some are there.
I see. So some did make the cut.
I think after giving, not just because of me, but other people's view, because they have a team dedicated in formulating this, but they got experts' view from universities, practitioners like me as well, views, and I've given my view, and I'm glad that in the end, when I saw the final product, it's a product which I can say, okay, this is doable, right, and it's something that it's sustainable, but at the same time responsible.
Okay. Well, when you say, so I think a lot of the commentary around the manifesto seems to suggest that this looks more like a little budget, because there's a lot of giveaways, a lot of initiatives, a lot of promises, as opposed to kind of reforms and ideology in a manifesto. How would you respond to that, particularly when the commentary is all about, well, how are we going to fund this? And I know you've come out to say 2023 is going to be a rough year for Malaysia economically. What does that mean when you say it's fiscally possible for the country? How would it be fiscally possible?
So fiscally responsible means that based on GDP of 4 to 5%, we will have an assumption of revenue growth, right, for the country. Revenue growth meaning revenue growth for the government coffers, and we have a target, right? Our target deficit. So within all this plan in the manifesto, obviously there's some are within 3 years, some are within 5 years, and the initiative will have to meet our medium-term revenue strategy, our medium-term target as well. So we have a target of deficit of 5.5%. So the initiatives that are announced in the manifesto can still meet that target of 5.5%. So it means that it is still possible. You can easily calculate, actually, if you can, in the manifesto, the number of initiatives.
Right, because it's not an immediate initiative. It's
some are immediate,
some are to 2025, I think.
Yeah, some 26 and all that. So it's a matter of looking staggering it. It's definitely possible. There's no saying that abolishing toll, no abolishing a PTPTN. That's right. PTPTN today is 40 billion, for example. How do you abolish that? So to me, it's a fair one.
Okay. In the last minute that we have, we've got about a week or so of campaigning left. What is this final push for Tengku Zafrul?
Well, I hope, Melisa, you can come down to Kuala Selangor.
I hear there's good seafood.
Actually, you're right. It is very good seafood. I'm quite amazed myself. But I think the final push is, again, about what me as a candidate can contribute to the people of Kuala Selangor. I have to remind them and say that, look, although I'm new, but I'm committed to making sure I assist all the voters in Kuala Selangor, well, all the people in Kuala Selangor.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to speak with me today.
Thank
for
you.
A very busy schedule. That was my conversation with Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul, Tengku Abdul Aziz, and that's the end of the show for tonight. I'm Melisa Idris, wrapping up this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.